Okay. Just for a second, see if you can speed up your heart rate. How'd you do? Okay, take a deep breath with me. And blow it out. That was pretty fun. Let's do it again. Now, sometimes when we're told to take a deep breath, I see this kind of thing happening across the screens. I see people going. Let's do this in a way that actually fills our lungs with oxygen. The interesting thing is when we are seated upright, most of the blood in our lung cavity is down low. So we want our breath to go down low so that we get the good exchange of oxygen, okay? So when you breathe, and we call it diaphragmatic breathing, sometimes people think of it as a belly breath, but imagine that your lungs are filling from the lowest part up to the middle, and then up to this little part right here. But the lowest part is the most important part. So, excuse me, let's take a deep breath together. And blow it out through your mouth. You know, every tradition I have ever studied, and I've been through a lot of them, every tradition I have ever studied has emphasized breath. And we know that when we turn our attention to our breath, everything in our being kind of shifts. Breath is our link between the physicality of our bodies and our experience of that which is transcendent. Sometimes you hear breath called prana. Have you heard that term, prana? Prana is breath and energy, breath and attention, really. Breath and attention together form prana, which is part of the energetic body that we occupy. And when you think about energy, think about the magic realm of consciousness. The magic, some people call it structure of consciousness. The magic structure of consciousness comprises the breath, energy bodies, our chakras, our nadis, and the vayus. So we're going to explore practices with breath, which in Sanskrit is called pranayama. Pranayama is essentially this, not the study, but the practice, the application of breath in our work. Now, those of you who have been to many of my classes know that I like to have little things to look at. Who knows what this is? Of course you know what this is. This is a neti pot. Could I just see with your hands, those of you who own a neti pot? You don't have to fess up if you don't use it, but who owns a neti pot? Okay, great. If you're looking for a neti pot, you can get one at the Himalayan Institute online. You can probably also find one at your health food store. When you get a neti pot, especially the first time you start to use it, it's helpful to have the really finely ground salt that you're going to use with it. In this neti pot, you put a 1/4 teaspoonful of salt in warm water. The salt creates an isotonic solution, which is essentially that concentration of salt in your nose. If you don't have the salt, it burns like a son of a gun. So use the salt. And it's very easy to do. You fill it up, you hang over the sink. Don't try to do this from your 6-foot-tall posture, you'll make a mess. So you hang over the sink, you put the neti pot in your nostril, and you lean over and you just pour until water comes through. And then you go to the other side and you pour until water comes through. When your neti pot is empty, simply make a big exhalation through your nose. Don't block off your nostrils. Just go and blow that stuff out. You might have to use a tissue too. A friend of mine who was a physician used to say he would do his neti pot and then he would lean over patients and his nose would be running. It's like, no, no, no. Do your neti pot before you have to lean over patients. Seriously. So why do we do a neti pot? We do a neti pot because the nose itself is just a fantastic place where the outside meets the inside. We would not go, most of us anyway, would not go 24 hours without washing our body. How could you go so long without washing your nose? So this is just a way to promote nasal health. Nasal health will give us a vehicle that's more appropriately prepared for our practice of pranayama. Now, when you see a beautiful sunset and you write a poem, we would say that you are inspired, right? You have breath. When someone dies, we say they have expired. They have no breath. When I'm chatting with a friend and we're plotting something really fun, we say that we are conspiring. We are working together with our breath. So there are 3 aspects to breath. There's the inhalation, the exhalation, and breath retention. Breath retention is called kumbhaka in Sanskrit. And I have been at many, many workshops, yoga classes, etc., where the instructor tells me to hold my breath. Don't do it. The practice of kumbhaka is appropriate for those individuals who have awareness of every breath. When you have gotten to that point, you won't need somebody like me saying, yeah, you can do it now. That practice, it has some physiological impact. And part of that physiological impact is it increases the pressure in your chest cavity. So it makes your heart work harder. It makes your oxygen exchange in your lungs a little bit more challenging. It's not a good idea. And you should never do kumbhaka or breath retention if you have high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, are pregnant, lactating, or what's the other one? Liver challenges. So just never do it. When I am in a yoga class, for example, and the instructor says, now take a deep breath and hold it, I don't do that. I just don't do it. back in the early days of my training, when I was working with Pir Vilayat and Nayat Han, my first teacher, he would teach Kumbhaka to everyone. At the time, it felt a little strange to me, but that's that particular path. This path, we don't do it. So when you're instructed on breath retention, unless you are in a class with someone you trust imminently, it's really not a good idea. So that's my 2 cents. Now you get to make up your own decisions about that, but that's my advice. We're going to begin with a practice called Kappalabhati. Kappalabhati is a practice where we make a strong exhalation and the inhalation comes more naturally. It's useful to clear all the unexhaled gases out of our lungs. It's also useful if you're on a detoxification strategy to do this practice. If you're going to do this practice, it's best to begin your pranayama with this particular practice. And we'll do it 11 times, and then we'll take a couple of normal breaths. So the way we do it is, we exhale fully, breathe in normally, and then we, using our belly muscles, push the air out and let the air come in naturally. I'm going to demonstrate it for you. You can't see my belly, but one thing you should see is that my shoulders aren't moving. So I'm not going, right? I'm going. So try to focus just on your belly. We'll do 11 times, and then we'll come back and check in, okay? So exhale fully. Breathe in normally. And begin. Take normal breaths. Okay, this is the time to ask if you're confused about the practice. So if you need to ask, just unmute your mic.
Arabella, it's Karen. So
Hi, Karen.
in those 11, you know, when you're on,
Yeah.
are you also breathing, like, is that an in and out 11 or
Yes.
just out?
No, it's in and out. The interesting thing is, I've been in classes where teachers have taught Kappalabhati basically wrong by telling me that I take a deep breath and then I breathe it out basically in 11 different steps. Right. That's not the case. So I wish somehow I could color my breaths so you could see like red out, blue in or something. But you kind of push the air out with your belly and then you let the air come back in naturally.
Right.
Okay?
That's what it felt like was happening. I just wanted to be sure. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for asking. Anyone else? Okay, let's do it again. So 11 is a set. I typically do 3 to 5 sets. You can do more than 11 breaths, but 11 is a perfect place to start. It's more important that you do it properly than it is that you do it fast or that you do it for long periods of time. I've heard of people whose practice of Kappalabhati is like 206 exhalations. No, it's not that interesting. Just do it 11 times and see how it feels. So we'll do it again. I'm not going to put my fingers up because I got myself all confused. Remember, it's not from your shoulders, it's from your belly. Okay? So breathe in, out fully. Breathe in normally. And 11 exhalations. And breathe normally. The Sanskrit name of this, Kappalabhati, means shining forehead, because it is such a great detoxification breath that it makes your face glow. So when you see someone, especially someone who's been on retreat, who's been doing this practice a lot, their countenance just looks so beautiful, almost angelic, glow, aura. So that's Kappalabhati.
Arabella, can I ask a quick question?
You may.
Thank you. Can I just confirm that when we push the air out, like when through our belly, that we're doing this just through the nostrils, not also through the mouth?
Yes, just through the nose. This is a nose breath.
Just the nose breath. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, this is a practice anyone can do. So if you are learning practices and you say to yourself, I don't know, should I do this one? You can do this one. 11 breaths, take some normal breaths, and then 11 more, and then a third set perhaps. And you can tell this doesn't take all day. It's just a really beautiful way to begin your practice. Okay, there's one other practice I want to talk about and teach briefly. I know that many of you know this practice. It's called Nadi Shadana, which is frequently referred to as alternate nostril breathing. For this practice, you probably want to be in a really comfortable meditative posture. I took a peek at who's with us, and it looks like everybody has been with us for a while. So I'm trusting that you know how to get into that meditative posture. Just come to a place where your back is really comfortable, where it doesn't take enormous amounts of energy to maintain your upright posture. Now, a lot of people will say, keep your back really straight. That's a little bit misleading because we have natural curves in our lower lumbar area and natural curves in our cervical spine. So it's a little confusing to say, keep your back straight. I would just say, let your back be absolutely supportive. Let your body be comfortable around your spine. Now, Nadi Shadana, a little hint to those of you who have done this a lot is begin with a nostril that is open. So right now, breathe in through both nostrils. Can you tell which one is more open? If you can't, you can say, oh, I think it's the left, or I think it's the right. So if you've been doing Nadi Shadana for a while, you might begin with your right nostril because it's more open. But for the sake of teaching, that's impossible. Or it's really hard, I can't do it. So we're going to begin with the left nostril. We'll breathe in through the left nostril and out through the right. In through the right nostril and out through the left. In through both nostrils and out through both nostrils. And we'll do 3 breaths, 3 complete rounds. I didn't say that very clearly. You'll be with me. I'll take you there. Okay, so you can use your thumb and your finger against your nostrils. Because I'm teaching and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to use two hands. It's not very elegant, but usually it works just fine. So we will come first to a quiet place and I'll guide us through that, and then we'll do the practice together. And don't worry, I'll take you there. We'll get there together. So just begin with your posture nice and comfortable, and close your eyes. Now, when your eyes are closed, you may find, oh, my leg is not right. I feel as though I'm poised for flight, or I have some tension in the back of my throat. So I'm going to bring all of my relaxing thoughts, my ease thoughts to my body and let it become comfortable. I'm going to permit that every posture, every place that my hand is, my back, my neck, I'm going to let that be good enough. I don't have to fidget now. I can just set. And now I bring my attention to my breath. At this point, not doing anything with it, just noticing, oh, there's my in-breath. It's cool as it comes into my nose. And my exhalation is warm. And now we're going to begin the practice together. So take a deep breath from your belly. Blow it out. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right nostril. Open the left nostril and breathe out through the left. Breathe in through both nostrils and out through both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right nostril. Occlude the right nostril, breathe out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right nostril. Occlude the right nostril, breathe out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Drop your hands to your lap and just permit your consciousness to drift. We're going to do another round. If you find yourself experiencing a little bit of air hunger, I would suggest you might be holding your breath a little bit. You don't have to wait for my cues if I'm breathing more slowly than you. So a nice full breath. And exhale completely. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right nostril and out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right nostril and out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in the right nostril and out the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out through the right. Breathe in the right nostril and out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Let your hands drift down. Let's do another round. Beginning with a nice deep breath and exhaling it entirely. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in the left. Occlude the left nostril, breathe out the right. Breathe in right. Occlude the right, breathe out left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Breathe in the right nostril and out through the right. Breathe in the right and out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Occlude the right nostril, breathe in through the left. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right and out through the left. Breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils. Let your hands float back to your lap. Now, when the mind begins to send up the thoughts that are trying to distract you, the little vrittis, just let them pass. If you wish, you may, at your own rhythm, do another set of Nadi Shadana. And if the mental processing becomes too distracting, by all means, do another set of Nadi Shadana. Don't worry if you make a mistake. On your next inhalation, begin to let the sensation of your breath fill your entire chest cavity. And each in-breath fills the body a little more. You can experience the breath actually filling up the thighs and exhaling out. And the next inhalation fills the torso and the thighs and down to your feet. And letting the breath out. The next inhalation fills the torso, the thighs, the legs down to the feet, out to the shoulders and arms and hands. And when it reaches your hands, you can begin to move your fingers if you wish, and your wrists. And then taking your hands together, begin to rub them lightly. And then more vigorously, and more vigorously still until they become quite warm. And putting these over your face, you may open your eyes into your hands. And when you're ready, let your hands drift down to your lap and come back to this Zoom room together. I'd like to open this for questions now. So I've taught you two practices, which are fundamental practices and appropriate for anyone who wishes to do them. Remembering no breath holding, not unless you're working with a teacher you trust. So, thoughts, questions, feedback? Some of you look a little floaty still. So believe me, if you have the slightest question or uncertainty, someone else is having that as well. So why don't you just ask?
Arabella, this is Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you. That was just what the doctor ordered. So the Kappalabhati breath exercise that you taught, what's the significance of the breath between? Is it just a style, or can it be 11, 22, 33, and then a breath? Is that just up to your breathing pattern or your breathing rhythm, or is there a specific reason for the break?
The little break. The little break is mostly to, especially when we're learning, it's really easy to start off doing it perfectly, and by the time you get to 11, you're moving your shoulders and the whole bit. So the breath is a rest. Now, there are those who think, that doing more breaths in a sequence is better, like going up to 206 or whatever. I'm of the school that it's more important to do them properly. So even in my own practice, I sometimes go, I usually do 20 or 20, 22, somewhere in that range. But I always take a breath in between. 1 breath, 2 breaths, whatever. But I always come back and recenter. And plus it lets me kind of glide on that beautiful energy that I've just been raising up. Otherwise, it's like when you're swimming, right? You don't just keep, you glide once in a while. You say, ooh, and that's the spanda, right? The tapas are the, blah, 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 and then you glide. And it's just blissful. So I like that. So that's why I do it that way.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Arabella.
Hi. You're not David.
I'm his other head.
Oh, wow.
My name's Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I got just the right amount of lightheadedness. And everything stopped. It was wonderful. And then I was wondering what my mother is going to say when I was repeatedly occluding my nostrils.
She's probably going to hope that you had washed your hands before. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing.
It put me in a really happy place. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, that brings me to a question. So I'm going to ask you, and some of you know, and some of you are going to think, oh, shoot, I should know. Doesn't matter. This is not a test. But why do we do Nadi Shadana? I told you about Kappalabhati, right? We do it when we're on detoxifications. We do it to exhale all the kind of unspent gases. That's why we like to do it in the morning, because, you know, at nighttime we don't always breathe as deeply. So why do we do Nadi Shadana?
Perhaps because one nostril is masculine and one is feminine.
It brings balance to the nadis, the masculine nadi on the right-hand side and the feminine nadi on the left-hand side. That's Ida and Pingala. And when balance is open between the nadis, as represented by our nostrils, Sushumna opens. Now, which one is Sushumna? Yeah, thanks, Ellen. It's the one right in the center. Okay, so when we do Nadi Shadana, it restores, I think is probably the right word, restores balance to the nadis and opens Sushumna. Why do we want Sushumna open? Come on, Pepper. Yes, David?
Well, I think there's different reasons we could want it open. We could want it open for that channel for, you know, the, I can't think of the word now.
Does it start with Kundalini?
Yes. Kundalini to arise through it. And it also, I want to say it also allows us to enter the state of the integral, or the integral structure of consciousness.
Yeah, both of those things are right. John, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was still cruising from the exercise.
From practice, right.
From practice.
Right.
So Sushumna is important because it's the center channel through which Ida and Pingala join together at the nadis. And it just flows from the first chakra right up to the crown. It is really special.
Right.
Really special.
So we know, I'll be really quick about this so we can get to more questions, but Ida and Pingala both start at the Muladhara, the root chakra, and they come up. This is mind-blowing. They come up and they cross in the second chakra, in Svadhisthana, and then they come up and they cross in the third chakra, Manipura. And then they come up and they cross in the heart chakra. And they keep crisscrossing all the way up through the body. And where do they meet? They meet here in Agnya, right? And when they meet in Agnya, and when Sushumna is open, Kundalini can rise. And what do we know about Kundalini? I'll answer my own question. Kundalini, her last name is Shakti. Kundalini Shakti rises. So that's kind of the metaphysical language that we attach to it. But really what we experience is that moment of bliss, that wow moment, right? Okay. What else is on your mind?
So Arabella, I have a question on the Nadi Shadana breathing.
Yeah.
So I've been with teachers who teach it different, not really so different, but sometimes it's you take a breath in, you breathe out, and then you close and breathe in. Does it matter? You know, so sometimes you breathe in on one side and out on the other, breathe in on, you going back and forth like one and one. And sometimes I've been in classes where you breathe in on one side and you breathe out on the same side. And you breathe in on one side and you breathe out. Does that matter?
There are a lot of different permutations of this particular practice.
Yeah.
My first teacher, Pir Vilayat Han, taught it a very, very different way. I've also experienced teachers who say, do 3 breaths in through the left and out through the right, and then 3 breaths in through the right and out through the left. So there are a lot of different permutations. I teach this way at this time in my life because I find it works for most people.
Okay.
I don't know about breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the same nostril. That's hardly alternate nostril breathing. That's the only description that I would have a little puzzlement about.
And because it was very clear, this particular, it was very clear, you breathe in and you breathe out on one, and then you move to the other side and you breathe in and you breathe out, and then you move back. And it was very clear, you don't breathe out and in on the same side. So,
yeah,
as you said, so many different ways. Just curious.
Well, there are some people that think, why would you ever want to breathe in what you just exhaled? So I breathe out through my right nostril, and then I breathe right in through my right nostril again. So I'm breathing out. And if I had my hand like this around it, it probably would be a little squiggy. But I would say, Ellen, though, rather than think about what's right and what's wrong for the practice, how does it feel in your body?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And in fact, everything is an experiment, Ellen. So try it one way, try it another way, try it a third way, and
Yeah.
see what works for you. See what is it that captures your curiosity or that opens your portals? What is it that gives you greatest bliss? What is it that when you glide really supports that glide?
Okay. Curious. I've heard that phrase someplace before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Arabella.
Sure. Thanks for the question. You have time for a couple more. So I have another question. How many of you, with a show of hands, have done this practice before with other teachers? Okay. And how many of you have done this practice on your own? Nice. Nice. Well, I invite you to try it. I think, you know what? In some ways, it almost feels like cheating because I do this practice, which is kind of mechanical. And the next thing I know, boom, I'm out in outer space. Well, inner space. Well, no space, no time, no causality. I'm in that beautiful transcendent moment. So why do we do practices with breath?
Because it's the link between our conscious and our unconscious or automatic nervous systems.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thanks, George. That's right. That's right. And it's the link between our everyday consciousness and transcendence. It's what joins us. So, you know, way back in the day, when I used to go to all these hippie workshops, I'm sure nobody else has done this, but hippie workshop after hippie workshop after hippie workshop. And I call them that affectionately. I've led many of them. But, you know, people would say things like, yeah, man, we've got to breathe. And we would all think, oh my gosh, like, where are they coming from? And if you ever had that experience where somebody's kind of freaking out and somebody's screaming at them, breathe, it's like so frustrating. And yet, I went through my bookcase just to see how many books I have that are specifically about breath, and I have 12. So I'm going to tell you which is the best book to buy. Okay, got a pencil and paper? Here's the best book to buy. No book. Bring your attention to your breath. Bring your exquisite attention to your breath. At various times throughout the day, if you wear a watch, every time you look at your watch, if you drive a car, every time you stop at a stop sign, if you're one of those people who has to pee every hour, every time you pee, say, how's my breath right now? What's going on with my breath? It will change your life. What's happening with my breath right now? Okay. In absence of further questions, unless there are, David, were you wanting to speak?
Oh, I was just going to say it inspired me to experiment with doing these just throughout my day, because I have them kind of categorized as that's something that I do every day before my meditation. But I just thought, well, why don't I just do those things during the day? Like if I'm feeling stressed or worried or upset or something comes up, then that like you're saying, it's such a great shortcut just to kind of get into the zone and balance things out. So yeah, I'm going to play with that. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I don't know if he still does, but he did have a little alarm on his phone
I do.
that said breathe or check your breathing.
Checking my breath. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I was first starting this practice, we all had wristwatches. I don't wear a watch now, but we all wore wristwatches, and you know, they were highfalutin. I'm talking that late 70s, and we would set them so that they would chime every minute. Not every minute, every 5 minutes. It would chime. Ding. And you'd say, breath. Ding, breath. Okay. Last call for feedback or questions. Carol, up to you.
Thank you, Arabella. Thank you for the reminders and the instruction and the background. And so next week we will be doing our meditation once again, and stay tuned for the invitation, or just pick up the link that the link hasn't changed, so it will be the same. Just a reminder that we did record tonight, so if you want to go back and refresh any of this practice, it will be posted on our YouTube channel, Dancing Shiva Tantra YouTube. And if you want to unmute, everybody can unmute and give a thank you to Arabella and a good night.
Thank you, Arabella.
Thank you, Arabella.
It was my pleasure, y'all. Good night. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Everyone.
What's going on with my
Good to
breath
see you.
right now? Good night.
Night.